Hello and welcome into the Sporting JAX Report. Along with Mauricio Ruiz, I'm Cole Pepper. Got a lot to get to today, including a look ahead at how things are developing for the USL academies around the league and here in Jacksonville. But first, I want to remind you to sign up as a member of the Sporting JAX Club. It's free. All you have to do is go to sportingjax.com. The official membership includes the following: discounts on Sporting JAX official club merchandise, an invitation to attend exclusive Insider Sporting JAX member events that will be happening in the build-up to kickoff, automatic entry into competitions for a chance to win special prizes and experiences, plus you receive the Sporting JAX monthly email newsletter. It's also a place for you to deposit your season ticket deposits and receive first access to seats and special limited edition Sporting JAX founding members pin. Just go to sportingjax.com to get signed up. And as we build forward to the start of the USL Super League team in 2025, USL Championship team in 2026, we are looking ahead, but you really have to lay a foundation. Mauricio, this is a great opportunity with you here especially to talk about developing that academy feel and the development of a pathway to the pros for local soccer players. So let's get into it. Without getting specific on timelines necessarily, let's talk about the structure of what it's going to look like and what it does look like in other USL cities.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we love here at Sporting JAX about the USL setup that allows for players to have a pathway to pro. The USL and a lot of their teams have already committed to a lot of the young players within their community to be identified, to be developed, and eventually be signed by the first team. And we're seeing some even going overseas with that opportunity. So we believe that we have that opportunity here with the build-up that we have to the stadium to when the season is going to kick off in 25-26, that we can start putting programming in place. And that starts really at that 10 to 15-year-old level where you can just do grassroots talent identification in our city, working with the local clubs, working with the local community to try to identify the best possible avenues that are here already and really invest the resources that we might have available from coaching capacity, coaching education, and really sometimes just consulting and what they can do to continue to develop those young boys and girls in that 10 to 15 age group.
Really in the spirit of just lifting the entire soccer community in Jacksonville up when you talk about 10 to 15-year-olds, right? Then what's the next step? And you sort of build that pyramid. What's the next step up?
So the next step is part of what the USL has as their product, as their USL Academy product, which really it's a U20 league, but it's not just U20 players where there's 19 to 20-year-old. It's really identifying players from the 16 to 19-year-old age bracket, boys and girls once again, to form what would be your pool of your pre-pro players. Players that within a 2 to 3 year cycle, you would like to be able to pull from that pool of players, giving them a competition to play in, playing against other USL academies and clubs around the state of Florida and regionally, having a USL Academy Cup that happens in the spring as well. But as a first team coaches, they should be looking from that pool of players that are local players that are playing in your city in more of like an all-star level program and environment where they play within their clubs, but Sporting JAX and USL Academy attracts and identifies them, recruits them to play in that USL Academy system. And then if they're good enough, even if they're younger, we call it if they're good enough, they're old enough. But even if they're a U16 player, we identify that is good enough to play and potentially start training with the first team, we want to pull them in as a full-time capacity within our environment.
Important to point out, though, that this is not like another youth soccer club.
Correct.
This is a different entity. It's a different approach altogether.
This is actually to support the high-level players on the youth soccer community, right? Sometimes we see, all the time that really competition breeds excellence and breeds success. So we want to be able to bring the top-level players from our entire region of North Florida community, South Georgia, even from that Daytona Palm Coast area, if it's feasible, to play against the top level players in their kind of age bracket. Once again, that's 16 to 19-year-old. We believe that if we put those players together on a regular capacity, on a regular basis, they're going to develop really, really well and at a faster rate than maybe they might be developing at their local club. It's support of their local club. It's working in cohort with their local club, not pulling players away from them, not pulling teams away from them. In fact, the USL Academy system, it's only one team per gender. It's a pool of 20 to 30 players, depending on the market, depending on the talent, of 20 to 30 players that sit at the U20 age group bracket, some of them in a full-time capacity in our system, some of them in that kind of borrow capacity from their clubs as it is already, but very different. We want to work with the local community, soccer community, and the partners and business community to try to make this program a fully funded program. a program that is really not a choice for whether a kid can afford. So for us, as in a scouting capacity, we want to go look under every single rock, right? There might be a kid today that's playing high school soccer here in Jacksonville in the North Florida region that may not be playing club soccer because they simply can't afford, or they don't have the transportation, or maybe they weren't identified. We want to make sure that we have our eyes and ears open to their entire North Florida community and identify players and give them an opportunity where money and resources is not a reason why they cannot participate.
Really interesting when you talk about the impact this can have on different age groups. Thinking about if you're a 10 or 11-year-old right now playing in your club soccer, you have really enjoyed it, you're excelling at it. The fact that this is being set up and it really does create that pathway to the pros, what a great aspirational dream to have, to be able to see it, and you'll be able to here in the coming years, to be able to see this pathway to the pros laid out right in front of you in real time.
Well, and that's when we think about kicking off in 25, 26, it seems years away from the first team, but that doesn't mean we can't start building a foundation. And for that 10 to 15-year-old boy and girl currently playing right now in early January 2024, playing in our city, we're creating a vision. We're creating what it could look like for them. But for that 16 to 19-year-old, we're creating a reality that in a 2-year period, we could potentially be looking to sign our very first signing into the first year, seen to the historic first signings of the team, a player from the North Florida region. And that player is currently right now playing locally here. And it's our job to go and identify who those players are and work with the local community to help us identify that, to promote players into the pro rankings and eventually into the international level. I would love to see, Cole, a player here in the next 5-year cycle represent us on a national team level. Currently something that doesn't happen.
Yeah, men's or women's, we'll see 100%. How it all plays out. It's something to look forward to for sure. All right, let's shift our attention now to the offseason. With the season rapidly approaching the USL Championship, there have been a number of roster moves by a number of clubs around the area. I want to highlight 5 of them. And Mauricio, I want to get your take on what are, number one, the most intriguing and the most impactful of the moves. Here are the 5 big moves so far. Memphis 901 has added forward No Meza. Romario Williams goes from Colorado Springs up to Hartford Athletic. They are having a big overhaul at Hartford. Locomotive FC, El Paso, inking the Jamaican international goalkeeper Jamali Waite. Lou City, who's been very active in terms of transfers away, sending Manny Perez to the Dutch side, AC Horsens. And then Charleston Battery's goalkeeper Trey Muse, who was tied for the league lead in clean sheets this past season, he has been transferred to Portland Timbers. So which of these 5 to you is the most substantial and which is the most intriguing?
So intriguing, I will put the 2 transfers to the MLS or to the Danish National League, right, to the Danish Professional League. I think every time there are players that are being promoted within any league, I think that's fantastic. But I think the one that really sticks out to me in the setup of the USL system with League One and the Championship is No Mesa. I think it's the more teams can create their roster from within the league, be able to get those academy players that we just talked about recently, or a League One player. It's a way that you can build your roster within your formation, within your landscape, and then you can go out and you look at Romario Williams, right? He matched his career goals last year for 15 goals. So you're going to go out and get a couple of those veterans, right? And those veterans are great. But can you build your team with young enough players? And I think No Mesa is 25 years old, relatively young, but it's been in League One for 3 years. He's had some great success in League One. And Memphis, we know, is a team that had their ups and downs last year. They're trying to increase the quality, the veteran play in the roster, but still with a young player that's coming up from League One, which is a really, really good league, and the levels keeps going up every year. So No Mesa, the impact he's going to have on Memphis 901 is really interesting to me.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that as the 2024 season approaches. Kickoff March 9th, just 2 months away. Also want to note the passing this week of one of the greats of soccer, Franz Beckenbauer, died, the German legend, captain West Germany to the 1974 World Cup as a player, then managed in 1990 a World Cup champion. He's one of only 3 players to win as both a player and a manager. 2-time winner of the Ballon d'Or, and of course in the United States, best known as playing with Pele on the Cosmos back in the late 70s, early 80s. He was 78 years old, but no doubt one of the giants of the game.
Yeah, and I think for U.S. soccer, we hear Pele and Beckenbauer almost align when that revolution of the 1970s, you hear the stadiums packed all over the place, and Beckenbauer is right there. I actually have a good friend of mine. His name is Franz Beckenbauer, and I didn't know what the relationship to that. He's my age, but his dad just loved because he grew up in New York around that time. So make sure you give him a call today. Make sure he's doing okay. But it's his name is such a revered name in world football. But here in America, we hear those two names, right? Pele and Franz Beckenbauer. They kind of attached together. But you think about the best center backs that have lived. We tend to think about just new generation because we're living in it. But Franz Beckenbauer, he transcends generations, and arguably one of the best center backs, defensive mids that have ever lived. Certainly, a lot of people put him in the starting 11 of all time.
Yeah, such a versatile player. Played on the wing in his younger days as well. So a guy who knew how to get it done all around the pitch. He was 78 years old. Thanks so much for watching the Sporting JAX Report. Be sure to like and subscribe here to this YouTube channel and become a member of Sporting JAX. It's free. Just go to sportingjax.com. For Mauricio Ruiz, I'm Cole Pepper. We'll talk to you next week right here on the Sporting JAX Report.